California! We are at 9 pips for
What
California.
is Brayrand doing in Missouri?
I don't understand putting that much money into Louisiana.
North Carolina going into the
This
Republican
is one of the
Conference.
most stunning results in 270 Live history.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you're watching, and thanks for tuning in to 270 Live. Tonight, the Beehive State bears witness to a matchup forged in chaos. The number 3 seeded Steven enters unfamiliar territory after a shocking stumble against Brayrand sent him into the loser's bracket far earlier than anyone expected. Across from him stands the number 7 seed, a man engulfed by controversy and who needs no further introduction. It's Tyler Tan. Inside the Delta Center here in Salt Lake City, a sold-out crowd is ready to witness the first elimination game of this 3rd annual 270 Live tournament. Tonight, there is no safety net, no room for mistakes, only survival. One loss ends the run, one win keeps the dream alive. The atmosphere is absolutely electric, the tension is thick, and the stakes could not be any higher. This is the pinnacle of 270 play, and it starts right now. Let's send it down to Ryan and Alex in the booth.
Hello and good evening, 270 Live viewers. Tonight we have a really interesting matchup between Tyler and Steven. Unfortunately, the qualifying loser bracket match between Tyler and Suresh had to be canceled by the committee since Suresh's matches were nullified by the committee for being played overseas in a fraudulent qualification bracket. As such, unfortunately, Tyler has had to proceed with no warm-up, and now he will battle Steven for the game.
We have a quick start here, though, Brayrand. But look, I mean, it's a classic red versus blue matchup. Looks like Steven's playing as Pete Buttigieg, Tyler playing as Donald Trump. Tyler did the same kind of start in our matchup in the first round, starting in the Old South. And it looks like Pete Buttigieg is going to be starting with a town and gown start. So we have a really traditional start here, Brayrand.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. We're going to see 2 players who are relatively new to the game kind of falling back on their, kind of classic strengths, and we'll see how that proceeds as this game begins to get going.
I was in the first annual tournament.
Second annual. We just had from our silent reporter a little factoid. This is the second annual tournament. Me, Ryan, was the winner the first time around over Keegan in the championship game. But we have a lot more contestants this time, probably doubling the tourney field here. We're here at turn 4, Brayrand, and looks like Tyler's coming out to a
conclusion
really...
of turn 3. It seems like we've got a solid split in the state groups. However, there is a 2-to-1 ratio between Donald Trump here and what Pete has acquired. We have a very clear town and gown strategy. Perhaps we'll see a pivot towards high tech with the New York and Connecticut block, and then we see California this turn. That's an interesting pip as Minnesota is brought in to solidify it. So what strategy we saw developing, it's clinched for the Democratic side here. And we're seeing that initial beginning pivot as we aim towards high tech. Looks like Trump is really just kind of staying with the initial strategy of the Old South. But he does pick up swing state, which will prove really pivotal as he tries to battle against some of those key high tech categories. What states do you think we might see the most intense battle in next?
Well, I think you got to focus on some of these high-tech manufacturing combinations here because Tyler's going to start heading into manufacturing. Steven's going to be, going high-tech because he's going to have California and New York. So probably Pennsylvania, Michigan, Maryland, kind of in that mid-Atlantic Rust Belt kind of region is, I think, where most of the battles are going to be happening. But one interesting thing, I've been saying for a while that more people should be playing Pete Buttigieg because he has a very strong town and gown bonus. And if you're going to start with New York and Massachusetts, I think it's really, really good to be playing as Pete. And similarly, Donald Trump is good at all the Republican groups. He's going to be good in the Old South, manufacturing, agriculture, oil and gas. I think 2 pretty good candidates, 2 conventional candidates here. This is really where we're going to see the the outcome of the game hinge is going to be around turn 5, 6, and 7.
And here we go as we see California getting more pips in, and we see Donald Trump beginning to go on a little bit of an attack here, putting in a couple of states with Mayor Pete here. As you said, Pete having a strong town and gown bonus, this might actually be shown as like an effective kind of counter to the Republican Old South strategy. Republicans tend to have such a strong bonus. It really provides like a really clear starting path for them. We see the town and gown start a lot, but that's not necessarily because it's the strongest for their candidate. It's just a really good pivoting state group. Whereas, as you said, Pete is really strong. So we'll see how well he can use that strong start to actually parlay into a pivot as we begin to see some of our first states that actually have overlap. Looks like we've got a few on the board in a few different state groups as well. So there's some options on the table here for conflict.
Yeah, they're starting to get in conflict in a couple places: Arizona, Virginia, Connecticut, a few others. One big thing, though,
Washington
Steven
as
has
well.
been able to go into California. I think he has 2 pips in right now, and Tyler hasn't went into Texas. And sometimes that's fine, but if you're the Republican and you haven't been able to go into Texas, you want to be able to build a big electoral lead.
We do begin to want turn 6 is a little bit too late. He does have Florida. Now, let's remember, he does have Florida. He has Illinois. He has Pennsylvania. These are expensive, chunky states as well.
Yeah.
But, right, not seeing Texas, not gone into even a little bit on turn 6, while New York and California are both about to be picked up in tandem. Very interesting.
See, I think if you're the Republican, you want to go into Texas more than the Democrat wants to go. And that's a big take in Arizona.
Right, Arizona, that's a good
swap. If you're
swap.
the Democrat, you have less incentive to go into California than the Republican in Texas because you can
Connecticut, that's a power swap.
Yeah, I'll leave it to you, Brayrand, here to call these states out.
Well, as you were saying, I mean, going into Texas is a little bit more better suited, but, we are seeing a little bit more of like a nuisance type of strategy here from Donald Trump unfolding. Wow. He's taking state groups here that don't necessarily cripple Pete's strategy, but it does seem like, he's using his money that he's not spending on going into Texas fairly wisely so far. It does seem like he's putting it to good use with a couple of good flips here.
Absolutely. If you're not going to go into Texas, you have to win these battles because the hope is Buttigieg is going to be out putting in $200,000 in California. He's not going to have money to be able to fight in these 50-50 states, and Tyler took advantage of that last turn. Arizona being a massive flip.
Yep. Now, unfortunately for Mayor Pete, he did retain high tech. If you saw, he actually lost it, but it did come back as a result of that Cali pickup.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think California and New York by themselves, I believe, can get you high tech, and he also has Massachusetts, so he's going to have that secured. Really no way that Tyler can prevent any expansion, prevent high tech or town and gown from being taken away from Steven. But Steven really isn't in a position to take away African American because while he was busy in California, Tyler really has secured almost all the African American states other than New York and I think DC.
It's true. It's going to be really hard to try and fight Tyler when it comes to not only African American but also swing and export. Now, a move in Texas is startling to see. I mean, we've been talking here about how it's been so long since Texas has not gone into, and Trump has just spent a lot of money in a lot of different places, and yet Mayor Pete is the one who's in Texas. So that's very, very interesting to see. I mean, having a Cali, Texas, New York combo, that is very, very unprecedented and extremely potent.
Well, I really think this is decision time for both candidates. We know how important these 3 or 4 big states are to the eventual winner. Tyler has went to New York. Steven has went into Texas. This is decision time. Does Steven go on the attack and take Texas and have a Texas-California combo? Or does he defend New York? Flip side on Tyler. Does Tyler go into Texas now to resist him? Or does he go all in on New York? And then you got to do the math on how much money each candidate has in terms of state groups. This is a pivotal moment here. Yep. And you have a lot of states.
Targeting Texas would be, extremely potent for Mayor Pete going forward, but he has that high-tech money that he could use in New York. So it'll be really interesting to see like how he decides to, does he commit to one strategy? Does he try to play both games? How does he favor that like way up? I guess it'll come down to how quickly he can do the math in his head.
The problem for Steven here is if he puts 400,000 over the next 1 or 2 turns into Texas, he's not, he doesn't really have the money to do that because he doesn't have any state groups that go into the state. So this could be more of a blocking opportunity rather than an expansion opportunity in Texas, just blocking Tyler from ever being able to go in there. It might be difficult for him to ever get state groups out of Texas.
True. We're seeing lots and lots and lots of state pickups here for Trump. He's beginning to expand. He's, satisfied with how well he's gobbled up the South, and he's laid his eyes on Central America. As we see our first conflict of the night. All right. Mayor Pete does put money into New York, so he does confirm that he wants to shore up that defense a little bit, and Trump actually completely ignores New York.
Yeah. And ignores
Mayor
Texas.
Pete actually puts into Texas as well, and Trump ignores Texas as well, so maybe we're seeing a little bit of a, fine, I'll let him spend that money in those big states, and I'm just going to go every damn other place.
I just don't like this strategy for Trump. I have to be very honest with you. That was the moment. I understand for a second here he's going to have a lead, but I'm sorry, having all the Great Plains doesn't give you any state groups. I don't even get oil out of it, because if you don't have Texas or California, you can't even get oil out of all those states. I think this is
you will basically get oil by default.
It's a desperate move from an amateur at this game who's he's out of answers. He doesn't have the Texas move by Steven was masterful, and Tyler not even trying in New York. It might be over, but he's still fighting here. I mean, can he eke out one of the most?
Mayor Pete with a huge flip here in Maryland.
Yeah.
I think, as you said, it was a little bit of an amateur exposure here. I think Trump did well with some key flips. He did well with some good attacking Mayor Pete's slow start. But Mayor Pete, understanding that Trump just doesn't have the capacity to be able to attack New York and Texas, could actually play both sides with a single pip into both, simultaneously making sure that New York is safely defended and continuing that progress towards Texas, which is just absolutely huge. Knowing that you have that kind of safety compared to Trump, who just doesn't have the state overlap with you, that's a huge amount of easiness that you can rest on.
Tyler might have been finished already, given that he got blocked in Texas, but maybe his only move was to go into Texas and force Steven to guess. Is Tyler going to put all his money into Texas, or is he going to put all of it into New York? That might have been the only way he could have snuck one of those big states, because I just don't see a path here, and he's holding on to probably 70, 80 electoral votes by the skin of his teeth here by 1 or 2 pips, and he's not going to be able to get a ballot because there's not enough states that are fully completed.
Yep. Unfortunately,
Arizona.
The lockup mechanics are going to kind of hang this game
out
for too long.
Wait, ballot didn't get triggered?
You have to have.
We're hearing some pieces down from the sideline right now, but yes, you have to have a number of states clinched. I think near 100 electoral votes around there. I don't remember the exact rules on that. I'll have to bring in our rules expert. Is our rules expert Keegan Fong here?
Yes, I am. You are correct in that there is a threshold for the amount of states that have to be locked out in order for a ballot to trigger. It's not just all of the states being pipped in by a player. I'm also not only rules expert, but functioning as sideline reporter. I'm down here hearing from the Tyler camp. They are in absolute shambles over that news. This was not addressed in the pregame meetings. This was not a part of the game plan. And right now, everything is on fire over here in the Trump campaign. They are panicking, and prospects do not look good from what I'm hearing over here. Send it back up to you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Keegan. It's kind of surprising, Brayrand, that we pay Keegan. He's making some of the biggest dollars in the industry. And this is the first time he's been brought in for a rule contribution this entire tournament so far.
It really, I mean, it just goes to show, like, how, in our third annual edition of this tournament, that, everybody's really come to play their best A game. They've put in the work. They've really studied hard. And, even though that's been the overall case, it really just goes to show that, sometimes there will be somebody who just can't quite be bothered to, make sure that they understand everything. Sometimes, you're just not cut out for the game.
There's been a lot of criticisms of the committee in terms of playoff expansion, tournament expansion here. It's expanded and there's a lot more contestants, but some of these participants, they don't know how to play the game properly. We had Shreesh not even knowing how to end a turn. We have Tyler here not knowing about the threshold. There's just a lot of amateur hour going on right now, Brayrand.
It really does call into question the decision making of the committee here, as we see another major flip from Mayor Pete in the state of Illinois. That is a gigantic blow to the African-American stalwart of Donald Trump. And we see another major flip here in Michigan. Wow. This is really, I mean, we've been talking about it for the last 3 turns here, but this is really like what we were talking about. The momentum inevitably is going to shift in your favor if you have California, Texas, and New York. I don't care if Mayor Pete loses Rhode Island. I don't care if Mayor Pete loses Utah.
Yeah.
Like, California, New York, and Texas, and he just took Michigan and Illinois.
Look, I'll say if Tyler's able to pull this off, it will be one of the most remarkable strategies of all time to be able to win. I mean, electoral college vote-wise, he is hanging in there by a thread. But the question is,
dude, Tyler Tan he's had a good strategy in terms of getting himself like electoral exposure. The real question is his overall good start and good strategy going to compensate for just head coaching amateur weakness?
Look, he's an underdog here. He's David versus Goliath with this strategy he's taken in terms of money. He's just poking his head out. He's trying to take a state here, take a state there, hope he can cling on for dear life. The real question is he going to stand and fight, or is he going to tuck his tail between his legs and flee like he did in his first-round matchup?
That is the question. As we tick down here to about a minute left in turn 12, we're relatively deep into this game. We're going to be expecting to see some fireworks in every single turn from this point on. The real question is, how is Trump going to hold on to those electoral votes when he has 445,000 and Mayor Pete has 838,000? There is just an absolutely monstrous difference in the amount of their spend as Mayor Pete clinches Maryland, steals Maine, another flip, and we're just going to continue to see these like flips here.
Trump has taken states though, Minnesota and Colorado.
No. Minnesota is not insignificant, and we're seeing Pete taking some small ones. He's taking New Hampshire, North Dakota, but these are real small potatoes. I mean, he's lost some big ones. New Mexico is a pretty important flip.
Wow.
Oh, we do see Pennsylvania, so the pendulum does swing back a little bit.
Trump is really, I mean, this is small town America battling against the coasts, against the big cities. I mean, Trump has every tiny state on the damn map is currently in his favor. Steven keeps taking these big states. I mean, you got to wonder. You would have to do the math
here. Is losing 10. He's losing 10 electoral votes a turn, and that's been like 3 turns in a row. The real question is,
here potentially
can he hold on to it?
We're getting close. Math, or let me know, producer, once Keegan has the math ready for the threshold. And that's the real question here: is how much needs to be clinched at the moment to meet this threshold to get ballot? Because really, Tyler's holding on to a ballot right now.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with the rules adjudication. So we have seen several turns pass without a ballot, and it's because, like we've just talked in the past, that lockout threshold has not been met yet. We are still at least 40 electoral votes away from a lockout threshold. We'll see if that's going to be met here, but that is the reason we're still not getting ballot.
Big swap here in Colorado. As you said, we're 40 votes away, but we do see Mayor Pete putting his best effort in to try and get us close, especially as he tries to swing that momentum over, taking states like Colorado. Now, for the first time in the game, Mayor Pete is actually the one with the electoral advantage here.
Yeah, and I really think the floodgates have opened here. Mayor Pete has taken probably 30 or 40 electoral votes in just this turn alone, and he keeps
It
going.
crossed the 300 vote threshold, and it just keeps climbing.
And this is what we were talking about. Trump did not have the money to put away enough electoral votes to be able to clinch this. It was a savvy strategy by Tyler to recognize how much trouble he was in and try to get ballot quickly. But unfortunately, he did not know the full extent of the rules here, and the onslaught is on.
Yeah, guys, just a report from the sideline here. A huge roar of the crowd here in Salt Lake City when Stephen took Colorado last turn, among many of his other gains. I'm also hearing reports from the Tyler camp. Privately, a lot of people were concerned that this could happen. Tyler had been talking a lot of trash in the build-up to this game, and there were some concerns amongst the Tyler team that this could bite him in the butt in this game. We're seeing this happen right now. I'll send it back up to you guys.
Is the crowd in Salt Lake, Keegan? Sorry, just one question. Is the crowd, I mean, they roared with Colorado came in. Are they decidedly against Tyler here?
There was a lot of conversation in the build-up to this match, and I think a lot of the trash talking that was coming from Tyler rubbed this crowd the wrong way. Normally, they might be inclined to support Tyler and the candidate that he's picking, but just the bravado and the ego, I think, has turned a lot of the fans here in Salt Lake City against him.
Appreciate it, Keegan. Brayrand?
Well, with a massive 59-point pickup in this last turn, I mean, we've been talking about it for the last 6 or so turns here. But, I mean, the fat lady has truly sung on that turn there. This should be it.
Remarkable.
As we watch Illinois come in, every bastion here that Mayor Pete holds is going to be well defended. Trump flipping small states like Kansas, Kentucky, but unfortunately, when you can't swing anything major, losing to a max out in Michigan, huge dumps in Minnesota, even picking up like Montana, it's just not effectual. I don't care how many North Dakotas you take. North Dakota and Nebraska, they just don't matter as much in the long run when you can't screw off any major expensive state. I admire the trying to make the score close, but frankly, these are garbage time points.
Look, I think a lot of his supporters were hurt. They were hurt. They were really trying to jump on board the Rookie of the Year candidate in Tyler, who has been incredible in the rookie qualifying matches. But I think they kind of, they turned the wrong way when he quit the last match. I think they'll be happy that he fought in this one, and maybe he'll be back next time.
Yep. And at the end of the day, this was a close match.
Oh, sorry. We're getting something from the field. Pete Buttigieg, Steven has won. We're hearing from the field. Keegan, do you have an interview with the loser? The loser wants to interject here.
Yeah, guys, so I'm down here on the court. As soon as this match ended, the crowd just absolutely stormed the area. I tried to catch Tyler for a comment, but he just ran off into the locker room. I can't seem to find him anymore. This crowd has been absolutely electric. It's really resonated with this Steven win. And I think Tyler has certainly made some enemies in the 270 community. He has a history of sore losing. I couldn't catch him for a comment or an interview, and I just got to assume he's out in the locker room sending angry tweets. I'll send it back up to you guys, but what a match.
All right, so while we've been getting that nice interjection here, Ryan has headed down to talk to our big victor, Mr. Big Pharma, Mr. Mayor Pete Buttigieg, Mr. Steven himself, and he'll give us the word.
Steven, can you hear me? The crowd's incredibly loud down here. All right, we have to go back up. Yep. Oh, Steven, are you with us?
Sorry, no, I'm here.
I appreciate it.
Sorry, I'm just taking it in. The wonderful crowd that we have here.
I understand. I mean, they've stormed the field. They're surrounding you. Look, you started this tournament as the 3 seed. There were a lot of questions. Even yourself acted very humble, acting like, maybe you didn't deserve that high of a seed to start. You got upset by Brayrand. You're back here in the losers bracket. You fought some, adversity in terms of technical, and technological difficulties in this matchup. I mean, what does this say about your fortitude?
Yeah, I'm just pretty happy with the with the product that I put out there. And I had some issues the last time I played, kind of sort of an unorthodox Democrat game the last time going into high tech, and we saw with Keegan, at other times in the tournament how that could really come back to hurt the Democratic candidate. So I thought I would go traditional and just rely on what has gotten me up to this point, and I think that I showed that has worked for me before, and it can work for me again.
Were you inspired by any of the previous matchups to do what you did in Texas today, blocking Tyler? That really was the death nail. We've seen it once or twice already in the tournament. I mean, did you just kind of come in with that strategy, or did you, off the cuff, decide to do that?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, since my first round upset, I've been doing a lot of work. I don't know if you've heard any of it, but I've announced a number of the games within the people that moved on in the winners bracket. And I've seen a lot of people be successful. In particular, Riley upsetting Keegan with a similar strategy, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the games that I called. And I just saw an opening right there, having, seen Trump go into a lot of those old South and lock up a lot of that money. And I thought, having secured high tech, that going into Texas would really work for me. And when I saw that my opponent didn't try and challenge me and instead looked like he was trying to force ballot, I knew that I could really push forward and pick him off. And ultimately, I think the final score showed the strength of my position.
And I appreciate the explanation, and back up to Brayrand at the top to finish us off here.
Phenomenal game once again overall. A way to come back for Steven, after being blown out by yours truly. It's great to see that he was able to keep his head down and show us that he deserves to be here. We love to see a ferocity. So thank you guys for paying attention tonight. It has been a fantastic night of 270. And as always, good night, Omaha.